April fresh, just wait and smell it. Only Downy brings that to you. While it rinses softness in, much love, we miss you.
April fresh Downy.
I had these big ears and they stick out, and she decided that what I needed was a new hairstyle. So she sent me to a guy she goes to who gave me a body wave. And I looked like I had a 1950s bouffant. And I went on the air with that. And she said, no, the people will like it. The people will like it. 80 phone calls. 80 from Apple Valley.
For the opposing side when it faced cameras.
It's a lot easier than it might have been.
County Attorney Tom Johnson, facing a heated re-election campaign, called the Scruggs case one of the most important of his tenure in office. The assistant who handled the trial said the verdict is a signal.
It is a strong message to the people in those types of organizations that this community will not stand for this.
Prosecutors defended their decision to accept pleas from the two women who turned state's evidence, though both admitted they went along for the killing. Prosecutors said convicting the mastermind of the murder required testimony from both. The grim irony is that John Scruggs went to prison without getting revenge on the informants who police say tipped them off to the gang's robbery of a gun store. Scruggs took it out on Christine Kreitz. Police say she never talked. Alan Cox, WCCO Television News, Minneapolis.
The two women who testified, as Alan said, will go to jail on charges of conspiring to murder Kreitz. Mary Braxton and Sandra White got those charges instead of first-degree murder for agreeing to testify against Scruggs and Williams. They will stay in jail until the second trial and eventually be moved and given new identities. That second trial involving Graylon Williams will come later this summer, possibly even in the fall. Williams allegedly was the one who actually shot Kreitz.
The other part of this story, who is this man called Sheik? This man convicted of ordering the execution of a teenage girl. And what does his conviction mean to the fight against local youth gangs? Tonight we have the opportunity to hear from John Scruggs before he was charged last fall. He spoke to a St. Paul group then on a tape that was played in his trial. And we have reaction to his conviction for the Kreitz murder. John Scruggs already has spent 4 of his 25 years in Stillwater Prison after pleading guilty to robbing a North Minneapolis bank at gunpoint in the early 1980s. When he was released in spring 1985, John Scruggs found fertile ground in the Twin Cities for what he called the BGD Nation. He wouldn't say what BGD stand for, but police simply call it the Disciples Youth Gang. And on the same night he ordered gang members to kill Christine Kreitz, Scruggs talked with a St. Paul group that was helping inner city youth. He worried about his group being framed for others' wrongdoing.
Trying to put a cease to the perpetrators that are running around screaming that they're BGD and doing these unnecessary shootings. I can't say killings because they ain't killed nobody. They're just shooting in the air.
Less than 24 hours later, the body of Christine Kreitz was found in King Park. And despite the conviction of 3 of 4 people charged with her murder, the police chief admits that the fight against youth crime has barely begun.
This was definitely a gang problem, no question of that. But it was in its incipient stages, and I think this might have nipped it in the bud. But we're going to have youth problems, and the youth problems are going to be very large and serious. And the fact that we do or do not have a gang problem isn't going to give me the slightest bit of comfort.
Ironically, John Scruggs spoke last fall of his concerns for youth, and he disavowed crime as a method to advance his so-called nation.
We ain't about all that funny stuff. We're about having, about learning, about teaching, about gaining what we got to gain, about getting what we got to get.
Today we attempted to contact some of the relatives of Christine Kreitz. There aren't any around that would talk with us. Her grandmother, whom she lived with, passed away last winter.
I take it as a result of this being admitted into evidence at the trial, then the tape then becomes public. That's the reason we hadn't seen it before, because it had been evidence in a criminal trial.
That's correct.
All right.
22 minutes altogether, and I was struck by the fact that Scruggs spoke very well, very persuasive, very charismatic man on the tape, but he also did that the very night that he ordered the killing of Christine Kreitz.
There are still people unconvinced that he was behind it all, and there are people who believe that he was an asset to the community. Kwame McDonald, Bobby Hickman in St. Paul said he did a great job on the street, settling down some of the problems over there.
Right.
All right, thanks, Mike. The 3 Gopher basketball players accused of raping one woman went to court today in Madison where the alleged rape took place. At issue is not whether they had sex with the woman, but whether she consented to it. And that's not all that was at issue today at jury selection. Trish Van Pilsen reports.
Mitch Lee, Kevin Smith, and George Williams, all here while their attorneys question prospective jurors about media coverage of the case and racial prejudice. Defense attorneys say what is likely to be an all-white jury may be biased toward the defendants. The alleged victim in the case is white.
As you sit there, how do you feel about the fact that there are 3 black men that are here on trial?
Just like anybody else.
One prospective juror was excused when he said he had strong feelings about interracial dating. Prospective jurors are being questioned individually to see whether they've been influenced by extensive media coverage. All 24 of them said they've heard at least something about the case. The alleged victim had been partying with Lee, Williams, and Smith. She went to this hotel room with the man where she says she was repeatedly sexually assaulted. Defense attorneys say the woman consented. In questioning jurors, the prosecutor indicated consent could be a tricky issue.
Does anyone feel that merely by kissing a man, a woman forfeits or gives up her right to say no to sexual activity beyond that point?
Lee's attorney has already successfully argued consent as a defense in a previous case. 2 weeks before the alleged attack in Madison, Lee was found not guilty of sexually assaulting a college student in Minneapolis. Testimony in the recent case could begin tomorrow. Trish Van Pilsen, WCCO Television News, Madison.
You'll recall that there was more in store for the Gopher basketball team than just a trial. The 3 Gopher players were forced off the team. Their coach, Jim Dutcher, resigned. The university then formed a task force to look into practices.
Should schools teach that we are descended from the apes, directly from God, or both? It's a courtroom controversy that first erupted in a case 61 years ago that became known as the Scopes monkey trial. Now it has surfaced again, and like the first one, this trial involves whether man is a descendant of apes, and once again, the trial's in Tennessee. In this case, some Greenville parents object to books that teach evolution to be fact and show boys cooking before girls. The parents claim the books teach anti-Christian values, and they want alternative textbooks used in their schools. The pipeline fight continues in the city of Mounds.
Next on the 10 p.m. report, the rules the city came up with tonight to deal with the reopening of that pipeline. Also, what time are we supposed to finish the job? The construction crew had the wrong answer. Drivers had backups. And so did the debate over when, how, and if Williams would reopen that pipeline, debate that continued tonight as the Mounds View City Council made up its rules for any reopening. Cindy Hilger is here with the story. Cindy.
Well, Don, the Mounds View City Council passed a resolution tonight that requires further testing of the pipeline than what has been ordered by the U.S. Department of Transportation. The DOT is a federal agency that regulates pipeline safety in the United States. Late last week, it ordered a hydrostatic test of the line. That means water would be pumped through the line at various pressures to determine if there are any weak spots. But tonight, the Mounds View City Council said those tests don't go far enough to ensure the safety of its residents. So its resolution requires a visual inspection of the pipeline, looking for sagging or any other defects. It also requires that the trenches around the pipe be inspected for organic or other matter that could cause damage to the line. And finally, all the welds of the pipeline must be x-rayed for weak spots. If any defects are found, the city requests that the pipeline be replaced. City officials say these tests must be done before the hydrostatic test required by the DOT.
The hydrostatic test only determines that one of them won't pop under significant pressure, but that doesn't mean that one of them might be weak or inadequate, and an x-ray might show that, or a visual inspection. Also, hydrostatic testing doesn't show any sagging in the line that might cause for a joint to become weakened down the road.
There is still some question tonight about whether the DOT or Williams will comply with this resolution. It's also a question Mounds View officials aren't prepared to deal with.
I have no idea. We'll have to play, we're doing this at one step at a time, and that's a step we haven't come across yet, and we'll take it after that.
The DOT, meantime, has said the only test it will require will be the hydrostatic test. And a spokesman for Williams Pipeline Company says it will comply with the federal order. Whether or not they'll comply with the Mounds View ordinance is still in question. Now, tacked onto the resolution was an ordinance requiring Williams to apply for a building permit before they can repair the line. As part of that process, the city will hold a public hearing so residents can have a say in whether that line will be repaired. Don?
There were a number of people in attendance there at the council meeting. Were all of them involved in the concern for this pipeline safety?
Don, ironically enough, no one in the city council chambers came to testify or to talk about this pipeline rupture, and I think that can be attributed to just the fact that they are assured that the Mounds View City Council is taking care of it and they don't have anything to worry about. On Wednesday night, however, there is a disaster stress meeting with the American Red Cross. The Mounds View City officials say there are still people dealing with this, and they're having a hard time with it, obviously.
It'll be interesting if these individuals, if the city is successful in running through all of these tests, the possibility of all of the other neighborhoods down the line asking for the same type of performance.
You bet.
Thank you very much. And with the memories of the Mounds View area fresh in their minds, residents of one St. Paul neighborhood heaved a sigh of relief this afternoon. It happened on the 1200 block of Prosperity Avenue. That's where a man struck and ruptured a natural gas line as he was trying to uproot a tree with a backhoe. Just to be safe, an ambulance was sent to the scene. The road was blocked off. There were no injuries. The line was repaired within 45 minutes.
American Indian activist Clyde Bellicourt turned himself in to federal authorities in Springfield, Missouri today. He'll begin serving a 5-year prison term for distributing LSD. 49-year-old Bellicourt pleaded guilty last April. He claims the federal government, however, is giving him a bad deal by sending him to a maximum security prison. More bombings across the Atlantic today. One of them happened in Madrid, Spain. A car bomb exploded, killing 8 civil guards as they rode by in a bus. It's believed to be the work of a Basque terrorist group wanting to set up a homeland in northeast Spain. And in the Middle East, Israeli jets pounded Palestinian guerrilla bases east of Beirut. This was the second such attack within the last 5 days. In Arkansas, meanwhile, a Trailways bus struck a tractor-trailer rig attempting to make an illegal U-turn. All 26 people on board were injured. It happened this morning near Little Rock, Arkansas. On Interstate 94 in Minneapolis this morning, it was the traffic jam that wasn't supposed to be.
A weekend-only repaving project stretched into the morning rush hour on the Minneapolis side of the Lowry Tunnel. Traffic slowed to a crawl for miles, and state officials, upset about that delay, fined the contracting company $3,000. The crew on the St. Paul side of the project finished its work on time. The repaving will continue over the next 5 weekends from 7 Friday evenings till 5 a.m., we hope 5 a.m. Monday morning. Now, we're going to check with Dr. Wald in just a moment for an update on our chance of rain for tomorrow.
And we're going to tell you about a part of the country that would gladly accept any rain. Rain in buckets. That story in a moment.
Both this full-size Chevy and that full-sized Ford have V8s, but the Ford is priced $688 more. And when you buy the special work-ready Chevy, they'll throw in $667 worth of options at no extra charge. Well, I figured that's over $1,000 you could give Ford, or buy this Chevy and keep your money where it belongs.
Get 6.9 financing during Chevy's year-end clearance. Length of finance contract is limited.
For some years, our friends overseas have been drinking only Pepsi-Cola. But recently, they started drinking Coca-Cola. And now, our friends drink Coke and Pepsi only. But somewhere, there are people who'll go out of their way for the taste of RC Cola. A taste that's unrestrained. Yes, some people go out of their way for the taste of RC. But sometimes, not far enough.
Did you know that Ramsey Hospital can take care of any medical problem? There's one place that can take care of whatever comes up.
Arlene!
St. Paul Ramsey Medical Center and Ramsey Clinic. The pros.
You're my mother. What? Weezy couldn't have no kid in 1951 because I was in Korea.
The Jeffersons, Monday night following the 10 p.m. report.
You may be thinking that we better enjoy it while it lasts, those gasoline prices under $1. But you can think again. There's word tonight from analysts that the prices may drop even more. Some saying as low as 60, maybe 50 cents a gallon. That's right, this following a crazy day of buying and selling on the world oil market, a market still troubled by an oil glut. The oil price drop is supposed to trigger a change at the pump as well. Some are predicting the prices to fall into the 50-cent range per gallon by this Christmas.
The southeast United States feels the heat this week, just as it did last week. Temperatures today hovered between 95 and 100 for the 8th straight day. Farmers are worried about their crops, of course, people about their health. A reading of 104 recorded today in Georgia, many more like that through the Carolinas, I understand. Columbia, South Carolina had 100 degrees for the 8th straight day, 100 or better. Is that right, Doc?
Not only that, it's been 26 days now. They haven't been below 90 in the afternoon. Can you believe that?
The toll on health can be something terrific. We don't spend a lot of time looking at that.
People don't realize that air conditioning is probably one of the greatest health benefits of this century. It has saved literally tens of thousands of lives probably this year alone. 1936, 50 years ago today, there was no air conditioning unless you happened to have a block of ice. That's what the temperature was here in the Twin Cities, the hottest it has ever been. And we were one of the cool spots that day. It was 111 in New Ulm and 111 at Eau Claire. Look at that, the 10th to the 14th, 1936, 5 straight days, the temperatures between 105 and 108 degrees here in the Twin Cities. Compare that to last week. I mean, we were struggling to make 80, hardly even reaching normal. So it's really been a very cool summer by comparison here. We've only had 2 days so far this summer where the temperature's topped 90. Not that the summer's giving up, mind you. Here comes the warm front. There is an attempted mild, call it hot air, surging right back into Minnesota after our slight coolish spell, if you will. And it's going to also bring moisture with it. Temperatures in the 90s all the way up to South Dakota. Today it was 95 at Valentine, Nebraska. We were generally in the low 80s over much of southern Minnesota. 60s along the west shore of Lake Michigan, though, for natural air conditioning there. But it's the dew point that's the main factor. Moisture is now streaming north into South Dakota, Nebraska, and southern Minnesota. It's going to feel sticky tonight and tomorrow. That is the fuel of thunderstorms. So far, things are quiet over Minnesota. We look at some thunderstorms with a severe thunderstorm watch just coming off the Black Hills. That cluster might possibly travel the jet stream winds and nick us early in the morning, but I think it's a pretty small chance. Right now, it is rain-free every place within striking range of the Twin Cities. But it won't stay that way forever, I can assure you. Beautiful night at the moment. 74 degrees is the temperature, clear skies. 68 is the sticky dew point. Humidity up to 82% now. Winds are east to 10 and the barometer's holding steady at 30.01. The numbers today, very, very nice. Not 108 or 48, but just plain old 80 and 60. Pretty close to normal and very, very pleasant, although it's still got a little moist by afternoon as that dew point soared into the upper 60s. No precipitation, and the sun comes up tomorrow morning at 5:39. As far as tomorrow, then, here's the warm frontal zone, which is going to slowly move towards us. On a day like this, you can have thunderstorms scattered any place across the country, and some of them can be pretty heavy, just like tonight. Flash flooding in Bisbee, Arizona, damaging winds in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, tornado touchdowns in North Carolina, and by tomorrow, we got about 2 chances in 10 of getting one of those big thunderstorms coming through. If it does come through, it could be quite a copious moisture producer. 2 to 3 inches of rain are possible any place southern Minnesota down into Iowa. That's if you, or Ohio, that's if you get the thunderstorm. 80% chance you won't. 70s and 80s and 90s will come across the 5-state region. We're going to make a good run to very near 90 tomorrow. Partly cloudy tonight, warm and humid. The low just under 70, southeast winds 8 to 14. Tomorrow, partly sunny, warm and humid. Call that very warm. Hot. 89 degrees. Widely scattered thunderstorms developing by afternoon. Southeast winds 12 to 20. We'll cool it off a little. Tomorrow night, a bigger chance of thunderstorms, around 30 or 40%. About low, about a sticky 70. Then Wednesday, rather, partly cloudy. Another period of thunderstorms, about 40% chance. The high near 90. Then it'll cool down a little bit as some of that mugginess gets pushed back down to the south. And I don't see any break whatsoever for the people in South Carolina and Georgia.
Quite a heat wave there. Thank you very much, Walt.
Thanks, Walt. Well, the fight for independence in South Africa, the question is, will blacks there ever gain their own freedom?
Still ahead on the 10 p.m. report, a special cover story examines the conflicts in South Africa, plus life behind the scenes. Stay with us.
Most hot dogs don't quite make it to the end of the bun, so you're left with the end of the bun.
Here you go, Ralph.
That's why Hillshire Farm created bun-size wieners. Kids like them because they taste great. Moms like them because they're made with quality cuts of beef and pork. And they're longer, so they fit the bun better. You get a bite of hot dog for every bite of bun.
Sorry, Ralph.
Bun-size wieners from Hillshire Farm.
Just look for this nice young man on the label.
Free as a breeze, going where you please.
money's welcome there. Bank America travelers checks. Peru to Kathmandu. France et parlez-vous. See the British Isles. You can go for miles. Hop the South Pacific. World money is terrific. World money. See the world money. Bank America travelers checks.
Summer salads from Perkins. They're music to your mouth.
Check the figures. New Figurines 100 diet bars. 100% new taste. 25% fewer calories. Very new Figurines 100 diet bars from Pillsbury. Check the figures.
The apartheid laws of South Africa date back to the 17th century and the arrival of white European settlers.
In recent years, as the fight against apartheid has grown, our images of South Africa have changed quite a great deal. For most of us, it appears to be a battle zone, constantly scarred by riots, arrests, violence. Tonight, we begin a special four-part series on the South Africa we don't see in the news each night. It is produced by a reporter named Alex Payne, who has made 2 recent trips to South Africa. Tonight, the story of a nation more united than one might think.
I am totally convinced that the only way to work out peace and harmony in our country is that white and black people will have to accept one another and will have to identify with one another. And
meet Reverend Nico Smith, once a hard-bitten segregationist. He is now building a house to live in an all-black township. This is Mikuseli Jack, a leader of a black consumer boycott.
We are using our unity now very constructively, which we have built over the past 10 years. And now our people are united as never before in their action. And
ironically, Jack's white bosses at his day job support his resistance activities. 2 men, black and white, helping to change the face of South Africa peacefully before, as some claim, it will be scarred permanently. Violence has been the main headline from this country for months. Yet, there is much more here. South Africa's non-white population, more than 25 million, is a mixture of several black tribes, each with its own language and tradition, along with Indians and coloreds, those of mixed blood. And of course, there are whites, almost 6 million, many of whom can trace their ancestral roots here back hundreds of years, and they are proud of what they have built, making South Africa the most developed nation on the African continent.
This is Johannesburg, established about 100 years ago as a small mining town. Today, it is the largest city in South Africa. The skyscrapers and modern buildings are similar to those found in Minneapolis or in any other American big city.
People of different colors seem to mix easily, and recently, many of the so-called petty segregation laws have been abolished, including the hated pass laws, restricting movement of blacks around the country. However, the cornerstones of the government's segregation policy, called apartheid, the Afrikaner word for apartness, still exist. Blacks cannot vote, and they must live in separate areas. The first white settlers arrived in Cape Town in 1652. They were Dutchmen, later joined by Germans, French, and English. Battles with local black tribes were fought as the settlers moved inland. The whites prevailed, and since then, believed they had to maintain separateness and superiority over blacks in order to survive. But today, because of the violence and international pressures, many South African whites are rethinking their collective moral conscience.
I don't see why they should be deprived of having what I'm having. I've got no objections at all to any human being with me, provided they don't assault me, but that applies to any race.
Alex Payne, WCCO Television News, South Africa.
We shouldn't look at this house again.
It's too perfect. Oh, that loan is not gonna go through.
We'll work with you.
I just know it. I never get anything this perfect.
Hey.
We'll do our
By the way, Norwest called this morning. You just got your perfect house.
We know the way. We are Norwest.
Now, the ultimate gasoline is here. Introducing new Amoco Ultimate. The engine cleaning gasoline for pure power and performance. Certified pure by Amoco, right on the pump. It's the ultimate engine cleaning gasoline. New Amoco Ultimate. The gasoline as good as its name. Your car knows.
Somewhere in Mark Rosen's Sportscast tonight, he's going to answer once and for all the age-old question of who's better, the American League or National League, as it relates to all of this All-Star Game and World Series.
All-Star games mean nothing except for some fun.
Yeah,
Kirby Puckett might be sleeping pretty well. Now he gets to face Dwight Gooden to lead off the All-Star Game tomorrow night. The Major League All-Star Game often turns into an All-Star bore, especially if you are an American League fan. But everything leading up to the game, from the sometimes controversial selection process to the throwing out of the first ball, does generate a lot of interest and a lot of talk. And how many times have you heard the argument that the National League must be better than the American League because they always win the All-Star Game? Then the true baseball fan will remind the National League booster of the recent domination of the World Series by the American League. Kirby Puckett doesn't much care about past All-Star games. He's thrilled to be taking part in his first. What makes it especially sweet is that Kirby did it the hard way. He earned it. Puckett's a popular player here in Minnesota, but let's face it, across the American League, the Twins aren't exactly household names. Look at the year Ken Herbick is having, yet he did not finish among the top 7 vote-getters. Puckett received nearly 900,000 votes, narrowly edging Reggie Jackson for the final outfield spot. Today, Dick Hauser named Puckett as his leadoff man. Kirby got off to a tremendous start, and today in Houston was asked if he started thinking about the All-Star Game a few months ago.
No, not really. I figured that, it's too early to think about the All-Star Game. I got off to a good start, and there was still a couple more months left to go. All I wanted to do was just go out and just do the job that I was doing. And if, when you do good, other coaches see you doing good, and maybe you'll be one of the chosen ones. So that's all I did, was try to conduct myself in a manner whereas just go out and just play every day. And if I'm one of the chosen ones, fine. But if I'm not, then that's fine, too. So I'm glad that I'm one of the chosen ones, though.
So Kirby starts things off against Dwight Gooden, followed by Rickey Henderson and Wade Boggs, who leads the majors with a .363 average. Next come the home run hitters, Parrish with 21, Joyner with 20, and Ripken with 13. Dave Winfield has 56 RBIs in an off year. He hits 7th, followed by Lou Whitaker and right-hander Roger Clemens, who hasn't hit all year. He has pitched well all year, compiling a 15-2 record. This will be a homecoming for Clemens, who hails from Houston. He'll face San Diego's Tony Gwynn, followed by Chicago's Ryne Sandberg and New York's Keith Hernandez. He's followed by 2 Met teammates, Gary Carter and Darryl Strawberry. Mike Schmidt hits 6th. Dale Murphy and Ozzie Smith bat 7th and 8th. Dwight Gooden, who loves to swing the bat, hits 9th. Jane Geddes had to play an extra day to win the Women's U.S. Open Golf Tournament, but the $50,000 paycheck was probably made it all worthwhile. Sally Little tied Geddes after 4 rounds, forcing today's 18-hole playoff. Little shanked her chip shot here at the 17th, giving Geddes a 2-stroke lead. That margin allowed Geddes to play it safe here on the 18th. Leading by 2, she had only to lag this putt close to the cup. Geddes, who was winless in 4 years on the Pro Tour, then tapped in for a 1-under-par 71. Geddes makes her first pro win, a big one, the U.S. Open. Meanwhile, Little's losing streak now stands at 4 years. However, she takes home a $25,000 consolation prize. One of Lou Nanny's closest boyhood friends was Phil Esposito. Both made their way to the National Hockey League, although Phil scored just a few more goals than Louis. Now both are general managers in the National Hockey League. Today, Esposito took over as vice president and GM of the New York Rangers, replacing Craig Patrick. I'm sure the friendship between Louis and Phil may not extend the first time Louis picks up the telephone and says, "How about a trade, Phil?"
Right. It is there. All right. Thank you very much. Who you taking, National League?
I'm going with the American League in an upset.
Oh,
Got to be national, I know.
American League. That's the news. Thank you very much for joining us. Get the results tonight.
Have a good evening.
Take the rush out of rush hour by going home with me, Cannon, tomorrow afternoon at 3.
WCCO.
18th Duke proved that you can indeed take it with you, leaving the 19th Duke no option but to open the summer residence.
To the public, good morning. Nevertheless, we serve only Schweppes ginger ale here. Real Jamaican ginger, Schweppervescence. As refreshing as a dip in the royal pool.
Geronimo!
Geronimo.
Filled with the best for less. Filled with lumber from Menards. We have acres of Dimension lumber on sale now. Top quality spruce and fir from the finest mills of North America, stocked in 4 to 24-foot lengths. And Menards buys in volume to give you the lowest possible prices. Dimension lumber is on sale now, starting at just 66 cents. Put the leader in lumber to work for you. Shop Menards All-Star Sale this week and save.
We're helping you build America's heartland at Menards.
If you think you're never going to lose any teeth just because you're not getting cavities, you're dangerously wrong. Over 1/4 of Americans have lost all their teeth by age 60. Not to cavities, mostly to gum disease. Gum disease strikes 3 out of 4 over age 35. 3 out of 4. What can you do about gum